Hi, my name's Alan Tilley. I run Turning Heads, which is a community interest company. And at the start of the first lockdown, we started working with Rising Moments and Comic Relief and building some recipe boxes and some recipes and some videos that went along with it, with a view of taking these recipe boxes into the public and giving people an opportunity to cook healthy food at a very reasonable price. And all the videos are online and the recipes are online. And we delivered over 1,000 boxes during the lockdown. Hi, today we're going to make shepherd's pie. This is a really simple recipe and I'll go through it step by step, but it is really simple and doesn't have very many ingredients. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do, we're going to take a large onion and we're going to put that into our pan and chop it up quite small. Let's get this on. Okay, a little bit of oil. And what we're going to do is we're going to heat that onion and we're going to chop up 3 carrots. I've chopped these up quite fine. And we're going to heat this through for about 3 minutes. It doesn't take very long, just 3 minutes of heating. Okay, so we've cooked through our onion and our carrots for about 3 minutes. Then we're going to add some mince. Now, because we're making shepherd's pie, we're going to add our lamb mince. So if it was cottage pie, it would be beef mince. We're going to put our mince in, and then what we're going to do for 5 minutes is we're going to heat that because we want to brown our meat. Okay, so we browned our mince. Okay. Now, depending on how fatty the mince is, this was quite lean mince, but if it's quite fatty mince, then you might want to just drain off if there's any excess fat. Okay. So the next step after it's browned is we're going to add a good splash of Worcester sauce. Okay, and then we're going to add 2 tablespoons of tomato puree. So 1, 2, good splodge. Okay, and then we're going to mix that in. Okay, I'm also going to add a little bit of salt and pepper. So there's a little bit of salt. A little bit of pepper. And again, we're going to mix that in. Okay, and the final thing we're going to do, we're going to add 500 ml of beef stock and pour it over. And then what we're going to do, we're going to bring it to the boil and then we're going to simmer it for about 25 to 30 minutes. So we'll bring it to the boil, simmer it and get ready for the next step. Okay, whilst we've got our mince simmering away, what we need to do then is peel our potatoes. And we need, for this recipe, about 1 kilogram of potatoes. Okay, I hate peeling potatoes, but we need to peel. It's about 9 medium-sized spuds. Okay, and when you've peeled them, what we need to do then is we're just going to cut them up into smaller pieces and we're going to boil them in salted water, lightly, not a lot of salt, just a little bit of salt, and we're going to boil them for about 15 minutes until they go all soft, and then we're going to mash them. Okay, so we're going to use just under 1 kilogram of potatoes for this recipe, and when we peel them, we're going to chop them up, boil them up in slightly salted water for about 15 minutes till they go soft, then we're going to mash them and get ready for the next stage. Okay, so we're going to chop up our potatoes. These are the sort of size that we want, so we're just going to chop them up and then they'll cook quicker in the water. So be careful when you're doing this. So this is the sort of size we want. Okay, so we've boiled our potatoes, okay, and what we're going to do is we're then going to mash them. So we're going to add a little bit of butter to our potatoes, a bit more. Okay, so we're going to add a little bit of butter, and then we're going to add a little bit of milk. So we want them quite creamy. Okay, and then we're going to mash our potatoes. Okay, so we've done our mashed potato. Okay, Now what we're going to do, if it's a bit too runny, your mince, this has been simmering away for about 30 minutes. If it's a bit too runny, you can add a little bit of corn flour and that will thicken it up. And what we're going to do, we're going to pour that into a heat-proof dish. Okay, just smooth it out into our dish. Okay, and then with our potato, what we're going to do is with a fork, we're just going to fork little bits on top, and we're going to cover our dish with potato. Cool. I think this is one of my favourite foods. Okay, so there we go. Now, if we're going to cook it and eat it straight away, what we need to do is we need to put it in an oven about 160 degrees for about 25 minutes. And what will happen is all that meat underneath will bubble through the potato, and we'll get a lovely crispy layer on top of potato, and that will be delicious. You could put it in the freezer, so this will happily freeze, and then you can obviously cook it from frozen. Okay, but if you're going to cook it from frozen, if you're going to freeze it, you need to leave it to cool before you put it in the freezer. Okay, so if you're going to cook this straight away, pop it in the oven, 25 minutes, about 160 degrees, and that will be absolutely delicious. There is our shepherd's pie. Hi, we're going to make bread pudding today. It's a really simple recipe, and it's one that you can kind of really get involved and get your hands in. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take, now you can do it with white bread. We're going to do it with brown bread just because it gives a bit more colour. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to tear up, like really roughly, 250 grams of bread. Okay, so this is quite good fun. Okay, so as you see, we're going to tear it up really small and then get it into our mixing bowl. So, 250 grams of mixed fruit. Okay, and what we're going to do is we're going to get all of that mixed fruit and mix it in with our bread. Okay. Is we're going to peel an orange, and we're actually going to keep the peel from that orange. Okay, so we're going to peel an orange. See if you can get the whole peel off in one, which I failed miserably. We'll keep that for later. Okay, and what you're going to do with that peel is you're going to really carefully chop it up. Move the egg out of the way for a minute. So we're going to chop it up into tiny little pieces. Okay, as small as you can make it. And then what you're going to do is you're going to add those little pieces of peel into our mix. Okay, so we've chopped all the peel. We're now going to add our peel into our mix. Okay. Then we're going to add half a teaspoon of mixed spice. Okay. And then with our hands, we're just going to mix all that in together. We want it all to be mixed up of milk. So we're just going to pour our milk over. Okay, and then with our hands, we're going to get our hands in and we're going to scrunch it all together. This is lovely. And what we're going to do is we're going to bash up all the bread. And we're going to bind it all together. Okay, so we've got in here our mixed up bread, fruit and peel, okay, and our bit of spice. And what we're going to add to it now, we're going to beat an egg. So one egg, and we're going to put an egg in there. Okay. We're now going to add 75 grams of light brown sugar. Okay, well, and then we're going to put the zest of a lemon. So we're going to use a little grater, and we're going to grate our lemon into here as well. This is going to be really fruity. And then what we're going to do is we're going to mix it all together one last time. So get our fingers in there, so this is quite gloopy. We want to mix the egg in so it's all evenly mixed. Give it a good squelch. Ooh. And this is what it looks like. Oh gosh, a really wet mixture. Okay, and then what we're going to do is we're going to leave this, when it's all mixed together, we're going to leave it for 15 minutes. Okay, and what that will do, it will let all the... Okay, so we've left our mixture for 15 minutes, so all of those fruit juices have soaked in. Okay, and we've got 2 more things to do now. Okay, what we need to do is we need to put some melted butter into it. So I've got 50 grams of melted butter, so we're going to pour that into our mixture. Get it all out. And I'm just going to use a spoon, just going to stir that into our mixture. What I've done is I've greased this with butter, so we're going to pour it into there. Oh, beautiful. Sprinkle a little bit of demerara sugar on the top, and that just gives it a little crunch when it's cooking. Now that is then going to go in the oven, 170 degrees, and it's going to take about an hour and a half to cook. Now if it starts to kind of go really brown on top, you can put some greaseproof paper on the top, or a little bit of tin foil, and that will just stop it from burning, but it needs to be in for an hour and a half. Alright, so this has come out of the oven, I've let it cool down, so this was in the oven for about an hour and a half. So as you can see, it's gone nice and brown on top. Now this was in a round dish, but you can use any shaped dish. Chop it up, a little piece here. Then you look soft and gooey. Oh, really delicious.